Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Arsenal. We are back again because this is the week that the transfer window opens. We're now like 5 days away and the Euros also start. So we're expecting maybe a movement or two this week. Hopefully, Arsenal are still favorites to sign Sesko. Arsenal believe that they're favorites to sign Sesko. Sky Sports have reported that Arsenal are still in for Bologna striker Zirkzee. We'll also be talking about the latest on Victor Osimhen, the latest on Chiesa, and also the latest on Aaron Ramsdale. But as always, Cozy, how are you?
I'm buzzing. I'm very, very well. I'm waiting for something to happen this transfer window, obviously. And because it opens this week, I'm really excited for it. Obviously, for the Euros as well. I want to see how I can manage both the Euros and the transfers. It's going to be a lot of entertainment. So, very, very glad to be here.
Yeah, man. Imagine watching like an England-Spain game and then at the same time you hear Arsenal signing Osimhen. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
But let's start with
Yeah.
the Joshua Zirkzee story that has come out this last couple of days. I remember very well because he's saying Zirkzee doesn't really see Zirkzee as a striker to take us to the next level. But what do you think of him as a player first? But before that, let's go to the news that has come out today in terms of Sky. Arsenal and Man United remain interested in Bologna striker Joshua Zirkzee, and both clubs are understood to be closely monitoring developments with the player amid strong interest from AC Milan. Zirkzee has a 34 million release clause in his contract. Now, first up, because what do you think of the player himself? Now, we don't usually watch the Serie A every single day, but the few Bologna games you managed to catch all the highlights and stuff, what do you think of him as a player? And do you think this is someone Arteta would be interested in?
Well, I've looked at his highlights. I've not seen
Mm,
any full games. In terms of reviewing him, I've seen I think one or two games last season for Bologna. They were absolutely flying. By the way, had a very good campaign, and he was one of the players that really had a very very good season as well. So in terms of his game, he is a real good talent, and I don't want to underestimate him. I don't want to underwrite him. I don't want to write him off or take anything away from him. He's such a real super talent. Is he a player that I would see Mikel Arteta interested in? Absolutely. I think his pressing game is really top. I think he's one of those players that remind you of Gabriel Jesus. Obviously, Gabriel Jesus didn't have a very good season, but
yeah.
in terms of the younger, hungry Gabriel Jesus, that would be Joshua Zirkzee. He's not a box striker. He's actually more of a runner. So if you play that ball in
Mm,
behind, he's got the pace to run in behind. He's got the skill as well, and he's got that flair that you would want to have in a winger maybe rather than a striker. So in terms of him as a player, watching him watchable. I really, I'd want to watch him. I'd want to watch him for a club, any other club apart from Arsenal. I
yeah.
have my own reasons. So yes, he's a Mikel Arteta player because of his versatility, because of his work rate, and because of the things he can do with the ball. Obviously, he got some good goals last season, and that's the reason as why he's been linked with one of the, as one of the priority strikers as the one. The release clause is also very, very small. We'll talk about that. I think generally, in terms of Zirkzee being a player, I don't have a problem with him. I really don't. I think he's exciting. I don't think he's overrated in any case. I think it's just underrated.
Yeah, the question then becomes, is it the player to take us to the next level? Like, will the other Arsenal players be like, yeah, this is the guy that is taking us to the next level? Will the fans already know the fans would not be happy this signing, like from being linked to Osimhen and Isaac to Zirkzee? I think Paul will not be happy with those numbers. Last season, he played at 4 games. He scored 11 league goals. He scored 12 in all competitions. He's played in Belgium for Anderlecht. He's played even played for Bayern Munich. I actually didn't know that. He played for Bayern
Mm.
Munich a couple of seasons, but didn't make too many appearances. So he has a bit of experience. And in terms of the younger kind of strikers we're linked to, 2021 he is 23, not quite 19 or 20. He's 23, so he's been doing it for a couple of seasons. And as Cozy has mentioned, it Bologna had a very good season. So
Yeah.
in terms of the another thing why we're interested in him could be the fee, 34 million
Yeah.
release clause. Now, you get what you pay for, as we always say. If you pay 1 million for Randerson, that is exact the goalkeeper you're going to get. Yes, we made some great business with Jorginho, 12 million. Odegaard at 30 million, very
30
cheap.
million, yeah.
Yeah, Trossard less than 30 million, Gabriel less than 30 million, Saliba less than 30 million. All of these players have come to us and they've had a big impact. You don't really have to pay a lot of money. But in terms of the striker, don't you feel like it's very difficult to get strikers for 18 million, and then he comes and bangs in 20 goals for you. I think striker is one position that you have to pay the premium to get a good striker. Aubameyang, 60 million.
Yeah. And again, the thing I want to say with Arteta and Edu is they've done well with proven players, whether they've been expensive or not. They've done well with proven players. I think Odegaard was proven. I think White was proven, and I think Declan Rice was proven as well. When it came to the younger prospects, gambling around the younger prospects, I am not 100% sure they have got it. They've got a bed of roses to roll in. Lokonga, that is not the best business you could do in terms of projecting young talent.
Yeah.
Tavares, you don't bask yourself in glory, and so is Marquinhos. So I would say with Joshua Zirkzee, he is a very good striker for Brighton. He's a very good striker for Crystal Palace. He's a very good striker for West Ham. He's a very good striker for not even Aston Villa, below Aston Villa, Brentford. Let leave those clubs for the development job. For you as a club like Arsenal, what are you looking for? You look, like you said, you're looking for a player that the rest of the squad will look at and they will get a reason to compete again. One of the things that are really underrated in the side of football is psychology. Psychology is a big factor
Yeah.
in football, like motivation, keeping a side motivated, getting them to believe in themselves and getting them to believe again and again. And that's why I think Pep Guardiola, one of the things he's done over the years, he's gone and got one quality premium player every single summer or two, just to tell the side, hey guys, this is how big we are. Just remind them that okay, we won last season, but this is how big we are. We can bring in Erling Haaland, the striker that could be playing for Barcelona or Real Madrid. He's ours now. We have Kevin De Bruyne as part of this side, but we are also going to bring in Ruben Neves, as part of our centre backs. We're going to bring in the most expensive defender in the world. That gives you a reason to to compete as a player. So Dash Joshua Zirkzee, replacing Edin Ketia in the Arsenal side, really motivate the players who feel, who are kind of worn out to go again. I am not 100% sure about that. Now, his profile only ticks what Arsenal want, in my opinion, because he's young and maybe cheap. Okay, two things: young and cheap. But when we think about the ex-killer instinct that we are saying that we were looking for, right? We didn't have that against Bayern. Is Joshua Zirkzee the striker that you are backing to go against a giant centre back? And I'm saying Rudiger, Champions League. I'm saying Bastoni, Inter Milan. I'm talking about this, maybe Milan Skriniar, PSG.
Yeah.
Is he the guy that you want to go against those giant centre backs? We've talked about it on this show. Clubs invest money these days in centre backs. It's one thing they do. They do it for fun. Like someone just goes out there and develops a William Saliba for you, right? And he's there. He's going to be there for 10 years. Rudiger, he's going to be there for years. You look at Barcelona now, the likes of Kubasi, the likes of they're going to be there for years. So for me, Joshua Zirkzee, however much I appreciate him as a good player, as a good prospect, as a good talent, at the moment, what Arsenal are really looking for is a finished product, and we're just trying to pay less than the premium. And less than the premium is Nuno Tavares consequences. Less than the premium is Lokonga consequences. If you add all the money Arsenal have wasted by trying to predict the future, get the next, Vicent, get the next Yaya Toure in Lokonga, get the next maybe Patrick Vieira in Tavares. If you add that money and you brought in one player in that team, right? There's a massive difference. So for me, Zirkzee profile, cheap, young, nice. But in terms, I don't want any PR around him. He is known coming in to define the season. If Arsenal want to get to 90 points, he's not the player that takes us to 90 points. If you want to beat Man City, he's not the player that makes us beat Man City. Not at all, right? So not the premier striker. And I agree with you. If you want to get the quality above average, you must go for the premium. You must be the premium.
Especially for strikers, you have to. You can get a defender for 10 million and he can come and be solid and just do the job. But striker, very difficult.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with strikers is the clubs that have them and the clubs that develop them do take time to develop them. Look at Sesko right now. Sesko has been in the making for around 3 consistent years, and it's actually not
Mhm.
yet at the premium. If you give him 2 more years, he's going to be at the premium. You look at Victor Yokeres, all of us like, he scored 40 goals, 40 goal contributions, but he's 25. He's been in the making for for not 5 years, but more than 6 years at the top, right? Just being grilled and taken through that development process. So if Arsenal want to play like Joshua Zirkzee, we must be able to wait for the Premier League for the next 3, 4, 5 years as we
Mhm.
groom our center forward. Otherwise, it's a deal that doesn't make any sense for me. It's a deal that I don't appreciate, honestly.
I'm never usually overcritical with transfer targets because I do believe in a 10 do. But that's the one in terms of coming to fill in the striker position. I think if I was to ask many of you, would you rather bring in Zirkzee, just keep Jesus and Havertz? I actually think, the Havertz and Jesus one could actually win that poll. But for me, if you're signing a striker, and then you get rid of Ket, and then you also want a backup striker, and then you get Zirkzee, I'd be like, okay, that is fine. Now he does have some qualities, as Kozia said. He can, press. He's good at passing, through balls, dribbling. He's very good in defensive contribution. That's one thing that I would love is defensive contribution. But
Yeah.
I want someone who's going to come and score goals. That is what I said. I've always made it clear to you guys and to Kozia that I still don't feel strikers are priority. I still want us to sign a striker, but I don't think we struggle to score goals. We can still score 80 plus goals next season. But I want us to keep on improving the team. And I don't think Zirkzee is an improvement on Harvard. So even Jesus, but he would probably bring something else. But I want a striker who's going to come and score 10 games in a row, score 20 plus goals. And there's not too many of those. So it's very hard to get a lot of those. But depending, if you've already bought a striker and you want Zirkzee as a backup, I think it's a very good play. He helped Bologna qualify for the Champions League. That's absolutely incredible soon that they had. But the reason why I could be going for him because he's the 34 million now. Do you think he's
Yeah.
worth that 34 million?
For me, absolutely. Absolutely. At the moment, you look at, I was watching Brazil and I was like, I was looking at Vinicius Jr., Endrick, Rodrigo, the players that
Martinelli.
go, Martinelli. And I'm like, how is Gabriel Martinelli? How is the cheapest guy in this team, right?
Mm.
Endrick cost a premium. Endrick is more expensive before he's 20 than Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Like, just to put that into context for people. So, yes, Josh Zirkzee at 23 is worth 34 million, but I don't think Arsenal should be rushing for that. Like, at the moment, I'll tell you, if you went to sign Danny Welbeck at Brighton right now, you're not signing him for anything less than 15 million euros. I can guarantee you that. So, strikers and the striker market is crazy. You're not going to get better than Zirkzee below 34 million. How they just have him at 34 is incredible, right? Maybe that's one season that he has done has outsmarted them. Maybe they thought he wouldn't be that good, but yes, he's worth it. And if I wanted him at Arsenal, I would say go and pay that release clause quickly and get that deal done. But I also think that why Arsenal have not triggered that release clause yet, he's not top two priorities. I don't think. I still think, and I still have a belief that up there, Victor Yokeres is up there, and I think Sesko is up there as well. The reason as to why Arsenal want to sign a 60 million euro striker that has more competition in Manchester United and Chelsea on him over Joshua Zirkzee, who you can easily bully away AC Milan, it's because they look at him and they know yes, it's 34 million, but there is something that you're not getting, right? It's like you going to the supermarket, Glenn, and you're like, fish with chips or plain chips. Plain chips is honestly going to be cheaper, but you're not getting the proteins, you're not getting the fish. So I think this is Daxi would be our plate of chips with that fish, cheaper, but you'll get satisfied. But I think it's different experience.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Sesko there. So, could Sesko be the one that finally joins Arsenal after a couple of weeks? Now, this is the final week before the year started. A lot of articles, a lot of journalists reported the last 2-3 weeks that you're going to, if the deal goes through, it's going to happen before the year was now. What's the latest on Sesko? So, this is the latest on him. Arsenal believe that they are the favorites to sign Benjamin Sesko at present, with the player's agents indicating that they wish to make decision before the start of the Euros on Friday. A contract extension at RB Leipzig has also not been ruled out, with that being very possible. So we'll come back to the second part of Leipzig. But personally for you, so I also do believe that they're the favorites to sign Sesko. Do you also feel that way? There's a part of you that, let's ignore Leipzig first, or there's a part of you that feels we might not get him, because I still feel like they're very confident in terms of getting him.
In terms of getting him, I don't think we are that confident. But in terms of us leading the race among clubs that want him, we are favorites. There's no question about that. The thing with the Benjamin Sesko story here is, among all the clubs that want him, Arsenal are the better side. So we
Yeah.
have every reason to feel we are in front, and we have a vacant space for him, right? With Gabriel Jesus, having that knee problem, is not going through surgery, so I expect him to have another breakdown really before January next season. Then you have Kai Havertz, who's not a centre forward, and Eddie Nketiah, who's profiled as a centre forward at Arsenal, is going to be leaving. So it's easy to sell the Arsenal project to Sesko, and I think we've done that well. And I doubt that he has any doubts about where this Arsenal project is coming from, where this Arsenal project is going, and what role he's going to play. When I look at him, tall, young centre forward who is a big admirer of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, that is literally what Arsenal are lacking. If he could develop into Zlatan Ibrahimovic, right? I'm not saying he's there yet. I'm saying that is what he wants to be. So I know Arsenal are confident that if he doesn't miss, if he doesn't sign a new deal, he joins us, right? So I'm 100% sure Sesko and his camp and his agent, they have compared all the proposals. They've told Man United, you don't have to wait to sign for you. We would rather sign a new deal. They have told Chelsea, and I'll tell people this. I think Chelsea have offered more money than Arsenal in terms of salary. And I won't be surprised if Chelsea negotiate with RB Leipzig not to reduce on the price, but to pay more in order to beat us, right? So I know that Chelsea can do all the ambitious measures and all the ridiculous measures to get a player that another club really, really likes, because they think if Arsenal want him with their scouting network, then definitely it's going to work out. So yes, we are leading that race. Yes, we think we are going to get him, but then there is the other part that you've said we are going to talk about, which is Leipzig.
Yeah. Before that, so did we already conclude that if Chelsea end up paying 60, 70 million, 80 million, you can have him? Because for me, I said, yeah, if they end up paying 80 million, have him. Or do you feel like if they pay 80 million, let's go and pay 80 million as well? I like if they pay too much money, just let them have him.
Well, the other profile that is on that list is Ivan Ferguson. Now, if Chelsea want to pay 80 million, that pushes Arsenal into the regions of Victor Gyökeres and Ivan Ferguson, both of whom I would take over Benjamin Sesko for my reasons. The thing with centre forward play, both of them are better than Sesko. Ivan Ferguson is a talent, the level of Kobe Mainu, the level of Jakusha when he had broke out, the level of Saka. He's a freak of a centre forward in terms of centre forward play. Third, I don't think that Victor Gyökeres is going to need a lot of time to develop into the Premier League like Sesko would, right? And I think Evan Ferguson can also pick up the role of an Eddie Nketiah, who doesn't play many games because he's played that at Brighton, which is a smaller club than Arsenal, right? So yes, if Chelsea are paying 70 million, walk away, deal with Gyökeres, deal with Evan Ferguson. And I also want deep down, I want Chelsea to
Mm.
take Sesko. I want them to win Sesko
Oh,
because that will push Arsenal. I mean, this is really working on razor blades, but I think it would push Arsenal into doing a sensible deal with Sporting Lisbon or a sensible deal with Napoli.
that makes absolute sense. Now, the funny thing is, I've also had Chelsea fans saying we want we want him to go to Arsenal because they
Yeah,
personally
yeah,
feel like
yeah,
he's
yeah,
not the
yeah, yeah,
answer. He's not the
yeah.
answer. So it depends. Now, the second part question of that is: do you feel like you'd be happy with him coming in as our main striker next on Sesko? You still like no, you still want the likes of Gyökeres? Have you already made up your mind? Like, okay, if he comes in for the 55 million, I'm happy with him as a striker. Let's see how he does.
Main striker, no. Main striker, no. I think
Mm,
there is a big job to be done with Sesko. And I've said before
mm,
that the Kai Havertz impact on this Arsenal squad, early days of the season last season, was disastrous.
mm,
We failed to find where he fits in until later on in the campaign. And that really did cost us the way we play and some games. And as Mikelata tried to figure out things, I think
yeah,
Sesko is more like the same. I think his profile is not 100% box striker. I don't think he's
yeah,
100% box striker. So we might see Arsenal try to figure out things. Do you push Kai Havertz back in the 8, Declan Rice back in the 6, and then and then
yeah,
Cisco up top? If it doesn't work, do you play him in the wings? I don't think he's well defined. I think he's ill defined. Secondly,
mm,
he's a player that you will want to give time. He's a player that you want to let develop slowly but surely. I've seen Arsenal fans, uh, get 2 3 clips where he's been flying, hitting balls, bicycle kicks, flying, and it's like, sign him now. And I'm like, you don't sign a striker because of the bicycle kick. You don't
mm,
sign me a winger because of his bicycle kick, and I'm
yeah.
absolutely in love with that winger. Strikers are not meant to be advertised like that. Otherwise, you're going to be scammed. Strikers are advertised by, he has scored 50 goals in 50 games. How much do you have? That is the real advertisement of a striker. The moment you are defending your striker, you know he scored a bicycle kick. Olivier Giroud scored some beautiful goals, like really,
The
really beautiful
best
goals.
at it. The best at it.
The best at it. Like,
Mm,
he assisted some of the really, really beautiful assists at Arsenal, like the Jack Wilshere one against
mm,
Norwich.
mhm,
When we talk about your CV, right? What
mhm,
has helped his CV is the goals he scored for Milan to win the Italian Serie A, and he's one of the top scorers, if not the top scorer at France, right? Actually,
so,
one of the top scorers, I think, for France, right? That is your CV. A
mhm,
blockbuster, a bicycle kick is not is not part of your CV as a striker. That is for Eden Hazard. That is for Gabriel Martinelli. That is for Saka. So for me,
yeah,
I wouldn't really be contented with him coming in to slot into that into that new role, because it changes the way we play. People don't really realize this. When you have a new center forward, it changes the way you play. You are not just creating now for everyone. You're creating for your new center forward. Otherwise, he's going to be as useless as Erling Haaland when you don't feed him, when you don't give him the service. So it means that a lot of our service, a lot of our progressive passes are going to be going into our striker. A lot of our big chances are going to be created for our striker. You want someone that you're sure he's going to bury them. Am I really sure that I want my big chances to be falling to Benjamin Sesko right at the beginning of the season? Not 100%.
On top of the thing that you said of 50 goals in 50 appearances, you need a player who's, if a game is nil-nil, how many big goals did he score? Did he win
Yeah,
us the game
yeah,
when we had
yeah,
zero shots on
yeah,
target? Did he capitalize on a mistake? One chance, one goal, all of that.
yeah.
Now, we're saying all that about Benjamin Sesko, but will he actually become an Arsenal player? Because something that was always worried, because it is the fact that Leipzig are offering a new contract, because he has mentioned it for the
Yeah.
last 2 weeks. A contract extension at RB Leipzig has also not been ruled out, with that being very possible. This is coming from Give Me Sport. So we've concluded that is the main worry, correct? Leipzig staying there.
Yeah, that's the biggest worry for Arsenal right
Mm,
now, because I've asked this question. If he doesn't want to leave, right, he will take a longer time right?
Mhm.
Because he's still thinking about that that offer. If he
Yeah.
wanted to leave, like think about players that we have been told want to leave. By now, Yusuf Fofana and Monaco have an agreement that he's leaving. There's no question about that. By
Mhm.
now, Joe Palhinha and Fulham have an agreement that he's going to Bayern. There's no
Mhm.
question about that. By now, Osimhen, it was decided in January that Osimhen will leave. What shows you that the player is not 100% in your grasp, you as the
Yeah.
person who club that wants to buy, is the fact that he's undecided, really undecided. And for me, that lack of decision is going to end up either getting that release clause really, 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 really in Leipzig's offer by expiring, and then they can insert a new one in his deal, or the other alternative is he decides to stay. He
Yeah.
decides to sign a new deal. I'm thinking about it in this way, in this kind of manner. If you call me, if you give me a call and you're like, can you meet me in town, or can you meet me somewhere? And I'm like, okay, right? I can meet you there and then. I know I don't have any other commitments. Just grab my jacket and and I'm at the meeting place. But if I have second thoughts about meeting you, um I'll say like, oh, I have something. Can you give
Mhm.
me 2 hours to decide? 2 hours to decide for what? It's either you
Mhm.
want to join me up or you don't want to join me up. You have other commitments. So I think the priority for Sesko at the moment, I don't want to lie to us, the fans, we are not his priority. We are not
Mhm.
he's not sold onto a move to Arsenal. His priority is to stay at RB Leipzig, and all this
Mhm.
kind of facade could be done by his agent to get more money, because they've offered him Premier League wages. They've offered him maybe a double what he's going to be earning, what he's been earning at Leipzig. So
Yeah.
this could be the agent at work, but also this could be the player loyal at the Red Bull Foundation and loyal to his employers. And he thinks also at 21 he might go out there and ruin his career. He's looking at all these other good players and what they've done. Is like Jude Bellingham was at Dortmund one season
Mhm.
and then another. And that allowed him to develop better as a player. The same as Erling Haaland, right? What about what if I stayed for one more year and learned a few things that maybe I've not caught upon, and maybe next season I'll be even more, a high value striker, on the market. So I don't think he's 100% sold onto a move to Arsenal. I think he's 65% by now sold onto staying and building his career. But that might change if the manager talks to him, if Edu talks to him, that might change. But at the moment, I wouldn't really say Arsenal have the higher odds in terms of between us and Leipzig.
Yeah. So basically, we're like an emergency. Like, okay, if it doesn't work out at Leipzig, then I can move
I,
on to Arsenal. But like, definitely want
I,
to
I
stay at
think,
Leipzig.
yeah, I think Arsenal are more like um when you want to go to Wonderland, like when you want to go to London, and you're like, okay, this is something that I would love to try out, right? So we have something that he wants to try out, but then he's got guarantees, right? He's got a place he calls home, a guaranteed home. So it's not an easy decision to leave your guaranteed home to go to Wonderland because you think there are greener pastures there. So we are more like a fallback position.
Yeah, interesting. Now, Sesko might not want to join Arsenal. He might want to stay at Leipzig, but Osimhen, we were told that he wants to join Arsenal. Now, how true it is, we're still not sure. But this is the latest on Victor Osimhen. Is the striker we are going to get? According to reports from Sky Italia, Osimhen must fund almost the whole of Napoli's summer business. He has 130 million euro clause that no club seems to be getting close to. PSG remains a possibility. Arsenal too, but not at certain figures. Saudi Arabia seems like a life choice. Now, for me, I personally don't think anyone is going to pay that money. I think if they stick at 130 million, there's no one who's going to pay that money. There is going to stick there, and maybe they're going to be more trouble next season, in terms of forcing a move out. He might not want to go to Saudi Arabia, so that could be a problem. I don't think he should be going to Saudi Arabia right now. I still feel like he has a chance to go improve himself even more in the Premier League or La Liga or somewhere like that. And then afterwards, he can go to Saudi Arabia. But we were told that he's wanting to join Arsenal. Like he's happy to join Arsenal if we make the offer and we pay the release clause. He'd be happy to join Arsenal. Now, do you feel like this deal is still a possibility, or are you like, nah, we are looking at Sesko, Gyökeres, Zirkzee, and players like that? Osimhen is not even in the top 5. You'd love it to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen.
That's a big story, by the way. It kind of reflects what I was thinking about the Osimhen situation. But I remember a summer where Arsenal were chasing Yuri Telemans, and Leicester were asking for 35 million euros, and Arsenal were not willing to pay 35 million euros. We ended up not getting Yuri Telemans, and we ended up getting, I think, none in that position, no player in that position, until later when we signed Declan Rice in that position. So.
Yeah.
The Osimhen situation is funny. I agree with the fact that Napoli have to sell him in order to buy. And because they have a new manager, Conte has gone there, right? Yeah. I don't think you hire Conte to joke around with him. When he says he wants Romelu Lukaku, I am 100% sure they will try to sign. They will try to get him Romelu Lukaku. I think there are around 3-4 players he's already said these are the starting. This is the starting point. If you want me to do the job, this is the starting point. So the Napoli are now in a weaker position, regardless of having a release clause and regardless of having, tying the player down to a longer term contract. And again, like I said before, it was ridiculous from Osimhen to tie him down to accept to be tied down to a longer term contract. It was also ridiculous for Napoli to put that 120 million euro release clause in a player who had problems at the club. It was purely, it was purely ridiculous. What they should have done is they maybe extend his contract. That is okay, but allow clubs to feel like they can get him for 70, 75 million euros. What that would have done is you would get so many clubs interested, so many clubs willing to negotiate, and so many clubs making offers, and then that is where I would say, hey, we signed him for 80 million euros. We're not losing him for anything less than 80 million euros.
Didn't he sign the new contract in January?
Yeah, in January.
Of this year, so 4 months ago.
Yeah, 4 months ago. Yeah.
That's a weird one, because if it was at the start of the season, I would have said maybe they were banking on him to score 40 goals this season, and they knew someone will have to pay.
Yeah, and by that time he had problems. He had, he had already fallen out with the social media accounts manager at the club. He had racism problems, at the club, and he had already told them, "I'm gonna leave. I don't think this is the best, environment for me." So for me, the thing is with Osimhen, he's 100% leaving, and he's 100% leaving for something less than 100 million euros. I think he's going to leave for something like 70 million pounds to around 79 million pounds, around there. That's the deal. So do I think that it's a deal that Arsenal can revisit? Yes, it's a deal that Arsenal can revisit, because the price is certainly going to come down.
I hear you. So this one is one of the deals that many Arsenal fans would want to get through the door. I mean, if you get Osimhen, basically takes you to the next level completely. Opponents start fearing you even more. He's a player who can get you 20 plus goals. For Zirkzee and Sesko, I'm not convinced they'll get you 20 plus goals right away. Sesko can get you 15 goals and 8 assists in the first season. Yes, he might score chances that our players would miss and all that. He might bring something that we don't have. But in terms of Osimhen, you're now getting a proven, scorer who was, like they wanted 130 million for him at the beginning. So there's a reason. And I'm sure, as I've always said as well, it feels like that 79 million cause he's talking about, Madrid would have wanted him, would have had PSG, would have had Bayern Munich, would have had Juventus in their own country, they've had Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, all of those teams wanting him, but they've put themselves in a very tough situation. Now teams can just wait. The problem is, because I don't think Arsenal want to wait. Arsenal want to get deals done quickly. So this is a deal that could go all the way until deadline day, but I don't think Arsenal will be waiting until deadline day.
Well, surely that's the thing. That's the thing. Like we've talked about Telemans, like we've talked about Houssem Aouar. These are things and scenarios that Arsenal and Mikel Arteta do not want to put themselves in ever again. I think we are, by this time, we are corporate now. That's what I would say. We are corporate. We are a corporate club in a corporate position. When you're corporate, what the things you don't do, You don't waste time and you don't gamble with time. You don't do that.
Yeah.
Back
Yeah.
then we could, like we would say, Hasemawa, we will wait until a deal comes through. And then his brother does something that is absolutely nonsensical at the last minute. Absolute nonsense. Yuri Tillemans, we thought he was gonna come. Something happened. He didn't come in the transfer window. I don't think Arsenal are going to give anyone time. We are as big, like 100 times bigger, 100, 1 million times bigger than any player. A,
Mm.
a million times. Like Osimhen at the moment doesn't compare anywhere to Arsenal. You know, we could wait for Benzema. How many years ago? 10 years? Was it 10 years ago? 10 years ago when Arsene Wenger was here,
Yeah.
we could wait for Benzema,
2014.
and,
Yeah.
and yeah, and it could disappoint. We could wait for there's a market where we are linked with Wayne Rooney. That was a big lie as well. We could wait. There's a time where big players had to be played with to join this Arsenal project. Right now, this Arsenal team can go full force without adding a single player. So we don't
Mhm.
have to plead and wait for anyone. You either want to be part of us or you want to be against us. And good luck with that. Unless you're with Madrid or Man City, good luck being against us because we are now a full force. We are now a force to be reckoned with, not a force to be reckoned against. So I would say the Osimhen deal, because it's going to be difficult because Napoli think clubs coming out of the Euros, will have a little bit of desperateness in order,
Yeah.
just to, prepare before the season. I think that's their theory. Run out June, let clubs come back in July when they're desperate. They want to make do deals. They have 1 month and 14 days to the start of the season, and let's see what happens. But for me, it's really it's a dangerous game, and I don't think Arsenal will be part of it. I think by the time we get to England's next second game, we will know who Arsenal's striker will be, and we will also know who the concrete midfielder target is going to be.
Yeah, makes sense. For me, I'd predict that Osimhen ends up staying there, and if he leaves on the final day to another team. I don't know who, but yeah, that could be happen.
Saudi Arabia, I think with Saudi Arabia, why he might go there is Napoli will want him out, and they have absolutely um, destroyed the relationship he has with them. So
Mm.
Napoli will want him out. I don't think he has anything in his mind about staying at Napoli. So they want him out nice quickly. That's why he might end up at Saudi Arabia, and I think Saudi Arabia will be willing to pay that 100 million. I don't
Mhm.
think they have a problem with paying the 100 million. Also, they'll give him ridiculous wages, but at the moment, in terms of his career, he would love to save it in the Premier League. I mean, I'm not sure unless Brentford do a miracle and spend like the money they have never spent before.
Makes sense. That is not the only player we've been linked to in the Serie A. Now, news came out a couple of days ago about Federico Chiesa. Now,
Chiesa.
this is a player that I never thought you'd ever hear Arsenal being into players like Chiesa or Diabala and players like that. But this is the latest on Chiesa, according to Tutto Juve. Federico Chiesa's future at Juventus is uncertain due to his current contract situation, and there is increasing interest in the player from Arsenal, Newcastle, and Chelsea. Juventus would prefer a sale abroad and are asking for at least 40 to 45 million euros. So, first question from that, Cozy, 40 to 45 million for Chiesa, no brainer, or still, you're not sure?
They're joking. They're joking. He's been out of action, and he's been,
Mm,
he's been disturbed by injuries ever since the Euros
mm,
that they won. I think Euro 2021,
mhm.
2020, which was played in 2021. So they're joking. That must be negotiated down, and it will be negotiated down. We're talking about a player who has 1 year on his contract. His future is uncertain. You're not sure if he wants to stay. If he runs his contract down, you're not getting a penny. No,
Yeah.
40 to 45 million euros. He's not been on top of his game. The Chiesa we all know and the Chiesa that we have in our heads is not the same Chiesa Juve have had for quite some time now, and it's not the same
Mm.
Chiesa we are going to see at the Euros, unless this is a disclaimer, and this way Arsenal don't want to sign players late, unless we get a Chiesa reborn version at the Euros. I don't see clubs pay 40, 45 million euros for Chiesa. And I wouldn't say Federico Chiesa right now is worth 40, 45 million euros.
Like if you're signing him right after the Euros, where he was very incredible, it could have been even 70 to 80, and people
No,
would have
for
been ready to
right,
pay.
right after the Euros, right after the
Mhm.
Euros, his price tag was 100 million euros.
Yeah, we'd have ended up paying that money at that time. Teams would have loved to pay that money for Chiesa, but he picked up an ACL injury that kept him out for months, and he's had a muscular injuries. I think another knee injury, so his
Yeah.
injuries are all over the place. But he did have a good season. Last season, he did revive himself. He got double figures in terms of goals and a couple of assists as well. And he was fit. He played, I think, 33 games in Serie A, and he was usually fit. So um, Arsenal is being linked to him. You're not the only ones. The once again, Chelsea, just like with Sesko, and Newcastle is there. If someone like a Chiesa end up joining a Chelsea or a Newcastle, would you be worried?
I'll tell you the truth about Chiesa. Chiesa is Pedro Neto.
Mm,
When they read them on your opposition team sheet, you've got to prepare extra.
you're
You've got
scared,
to
yeah.
put in, yeah, you've got to burn some midnight candles for Federico Chiesa. You don't just deal with him there and then. He can score a goal. He can shoot outside the penalty area. His pace is frightening, and he is rapid and technically gifted. So, we've talked about Michael Olise. I don't
Mhm,
think Olise is as speedy as Pedro Neto and Chiesa.
mm,
They have that part of his game that they can just switch in another gear. And when they do, good luck to you dealing with them. Good luck to Ben White. Good luck to Kivio. Good luck to
mhm,
Zichenko. They are
mhm,
absolutely going to, humiliate you, and you're going to have a very, very tough night. You're going to earn your money in dollars, not in shillings. So if he goes to Chelsea, 40, 45 million euros, I'm like, okay, I pray it doesn't work out. Because if it does work out, we're not talking about a Mikhailo Modric here. We are talking about a
mm.
guy that won the Euros for Italy, and we're talking about a guy that has been really, rightly rated. We're not talking about an overrated player here. We're just talking about injuries setting him back. We know the true potential of him. And even if he doesn't add to his game and he just improves to the levels where he was during 2021, that is a lethal weapon. That is a really lethal weapon. So, any seeing him in any other team other than Arsenal, we've got to prepare.
Now he can play as a left winger. He can also play as a second striker. But left wing again, Trossard, Martinelli. Cozy has always said he wants a left winger in the levels of Leao. Once again, I saw Leao playing for Portugal the other day. Just absolutely incredible. They just pass
Yeah.
his defenders so easily. But is Chiesa that player that you're looking for on the left wing? Because you mentioned Leao, Kvaratskhelia. Does Chiesa fit into that list?
I mean, in terms of talent and abilities in the bracket, in terms of what they've done in the last 2 seasons, I don't think he is in that bracket. I think that's
Mm,
where numbers come in, because we have been told that Mikelata and Edu use more of the scouting numbers system rather than just looking at a player on YouTube, like some of the scouts Arsene Wenger was employing. They give you Yaya Sonogo because he scored a bicycle kick on YouTube, and you guessed about him. I think with Chiesa, if you're going to go with data,
mm,
right? The last 2 seasons are not his best seasons, but he has enough data to back him up.
yeah. Yep.
When you go
Going
with
back
the
to his Fiorentina days, yeah.
yeah, going back to his Fiorentina days, when you go with the eye test, he is definitely in that bracket of Kvaratskhelia
Mm.
and Rafael. He's 100% in that bracket. Like, who wouldn't want Chiesa in his side after the Euros? Like, who wouldn't really want him, after these Euros? And because also he's what, 26, 27 now?
26.
26. Because Leandro Trossard is going to is getting older and older and older, I
Mhm,
think Chiesa would be the player in his prime to come in and create the real competition now for Gabriel Martinelli. Like
mm,
the way you see, if Arsenal signed a player like Nico Williams,
yeah.
or if Arsenal signed a player like Olise to shake up things on the right hand side for Saka.
Mhm,
I want that kind of double up on each and every position. Like Chiesa would start 10 games, and Martinelli would be really, really frightened. And Martinelli would start 10 games, and Chiesa would also have to check on his, to check on his game. So for me, yep, I think he's in that bracket. If injuries are put out of the way, and we know that, our physios are sure his injuries can be dealt with and they can be put behind him, get him in.
Absolutely great player, but the injuries are a problem. I don't think it would be my priority. My priority is getting a midfielder in and then a striker. And then if you have the space of getting in someone like a Chiesa, I think that would be like another kind of statement signing in terms of name. People, I've
Yeah.
seen him doing it in the international kind of level and be like, okay, this guy's coming from Juventus and all that. And I've just realized, apart from Sesko, all these players we've talked about from this Serie A, that's interesting. Chiesa, Osimhen, Zirkzee, all of them in the Serie A. Now,
Yeah,
one
I can't lie. The Serie recently has given us good products. Like it has upgraded each product in terms of the football, and we have around 7 clubs now in the Serie A that I'm comfortable sitting down and watching. The two Milans, Juventus is now coming back. Lazio have had a good season, not one good season as well. Napoli have won the Scudetto, recently. And then you've got the likes of Atalanta winning the Europa League. So in terms of their
Roma.
product, it's actually much, much better. Roma as well, by the way. They've had like 2 consecutive top quality coaches. So for
Yeah.
me, yeah, I'm not surprised that the talent is now, coming from Italy, being mixed
That's
with the rest of Europe.
That is spot on. Inter Milan final of the Champions League.
Yeah,
I mean, 2023, Fiorentina, 2 finals
two
recently in the
finals.
Conference League. Roma, Conference League final, Europa League final with Mourinho, both of them. So both of those, all of those teams are doing incredibly well. Atalanta, winners of the competition as well. So all of them are doing well. Now, one player that might not get to play these players that we are being linked to is Aaron Ramsdale. Now, situation has gotten even more difficult because since we last talked about Aaron Ramsdale, this is the latest on him, according to the Sun. Not the best source, I'd have to say, but Arsenal are looking for 50 million to sell Aaron Ramsdale, made up of our guaranteed 40 million plus 10 million in add-ons. Now, we are hearing that Newcastle are about to sign Trafford from Burnley, so they're really the only team that really wanted him. And I'm looking at the other teams. I think Henderson has done well for Crystal Palace. I don't think they need a goalkeeper. Newcastle now will not really need a goalkeeper. They already have Dubravka and Pop anyway. You look at Aston Villa, they definitely don't need a goalkeeper, and then all the other top teams, maybe not. Probably not, actually. Chelsea, Sanchez is going to stay. The new coach said he wants Sanchez to be playing. So it's not too many teams that would want Ramsdale in terms of being ready to pay the money. But do you think that's the correct fee you're asking for? Because we've seen someone like Broja, Chelsea want to sell Broja for 30 million. A player who's played like 2 games over the last 2 years. But for us, if Broja was playing for us, teams would have been offering for 4 million or 5 million.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that's the best thing to do? Say we want 50 million, then wait.
I think it's I think it's what you'd call a snowballing kind of foot in the mouth strategies. What
Hmm.
you're doing there is you're starting at a fee that is higher in order for you to get a fee that is more appropriate. And I love it. One of the things I don't like about Arsenal is when they value a player at 30 million and they're like, give us 35.
You've,
Obviously,
bro-
you're going to end up at
you've brought up a good point. I had Chelsea saying as well, Gallagher, they say they want 50 million, but they really want 40. They're just starting at a
exactly.
higher ground.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You've got to learn. Our negotiation in terms of selling has been the worst. Like when you think about clubs that we buy from, right? Your example, Sheffield, when we bought Ramsdale, they
Hmm.
said 50 million, and that was during the Euros. And they're like, we are not even negotiating. We're not even trying to negotiate. It ended up at 30. If they had
Hmm.
started at 30, they'll be getting 20, 25 million euros, from
Hmm.
his sale. So I don't think Arsenal really asking for 50 million, right? Or 40 million in terms of guaranteed, but they know that if you set him at 50, it reflects the value of the player. It reflects the value of the player to you as a club, how much you value the
Hmm.
player at, how much he's really important to you. Like you don't just value a player at 30 million and then you convince a buyer that this guy is important to you. You actually just can't do that, right?
Hmm.
If you value them at 20 million, it means that he's not that important. Therefore, we can give you 15 million euros anyway. So what Arsenal have done there is the right thing. Value each player, each member of this squad, even if it's Edin Ketia, ask for
Mm,
70 million, right? Ask
mm,
for 70 million. Clubs already know that Eddie wants out, right? So clubs will be like, that's ridiculous, right?
yeah,
They'll
yeah,
come in with 30 million euro offers, and you're like, no, we talked about 70. We're giving you 30. Then they'll come
yeah.
back with 38. And you're like, okay, this is very close to what we want, right? 38. Then you will start negotiations. Now, you don't push back the 38, you start real
Mm.
negotiations to get it maybe to 40, 42. So I think it's a very good strategy. I don't think Arsenal looking for 50. I don't think Arsenal looking for
Mm.
40. I think it's just about us going in prepared to be not bullied. We don't want to be bullied. So anyone who's going to knock back around 15 million of that 50, we are okay with a good. That's a good deal. 35.
As I said, with our goalkeepers and defenders, I'm happy to keep all of them, but I do understand why Ramsey might have to leave. Two reasons. Obviously, we don't want that, commotion of first choice, second choice next season.
Yeah.
And number two, he could be one of the players that are going to get us money to improve elsewhere. Now, I'm slightly worried that if this is the player you're depending on in terms of getting us the money to get other positions, I'm a little bit worried that we might struggle to sell him in terms of not too many teams have said they want him, because Ramsey is a very good goalkeeper. He's still one of the best goalkeepers in the league. That's why he's still being picked for England and all that. But do you have a feeling that you worried that teams might not come in for him until he drop it to like 20 million, and we might end up being stuck with him? Or do you even think stuck is not really the word? If he ends up staying, it's fine. Or are you desperate to sell him?
No, I'm not 100% desperate to sell,
Mm-hmm.
but because I know his value is going to drop, I would prefer us to sell this summer. However, there is another option where if a club is in position to give us 30, 35 million, we can give them Ramsdale under the same circumstances we signed Dryer. More of
Mm-hmm.
an obligation to buy. Someone, a club that is really willing to pay 35 million at the end of this financial year. No problem about that. Now, am I really worried that clubs are not going to come in for him? Come on. Robert Sanchez has a club,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a club that he signed for last summer. I
Mm-hmm.
am not worried at all. I am
Okay,
not.
no, 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 no
Runason,
worried, no worried because of the way he's playing,
Runason
but in
has a
terms of
job.
money, yeah.
Runason has a job. So I'm not worried. Now, in terms of money, I think even clubs that feel they cannot afford him, but they
Mm-hmm.
need him, they will come in for him on a loan deal. They'll try to do loan deals. So I know clubs will, clubs will come in. They'll try to find a way around that around that 50 million. So I'm not afraid at all. I'm not even thinking about, oh, we might not be able to sell him. I'm not afraid. And I actually think there will be a club among the top 10 that
Mm-hmm.
will want to get him. Like I'm not even bothered by that. I'm not even bothered by price driving away people or clubs. I think there's going to be a club, top 10 club that will want to sign him. Like when we saw Fulham coming for Ban Leno, obviously the amount of money they paid was ridiculous, but some kind of a similar situation.
Mm. Interesting. So, if I was to ask you to pick two clubs where you think Ramsdale might end up in, what would you say? Which two teams would you say?
Wow, that's interesting. Two clubs where he might end up.
Mm. It's a really tough one.
It's a really, really tough one. It's a really tough one because I was going to say Aston Villa, but I think with Emi Martinez still there,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
see. Yeah,
You're not going
with Emi
to.
Martinez still there, I don't see.
The way
Uh,
Brighton play,
no,
I don't think they'll sign him.
the goalkeeper they have at Brighton is
Verbruggen.
yeah is long term.
Mm-hmm.
But have you thought about um now in terms of the pricing? This is where a loan would work.
Mm.
Brentford.
Switch.
So Flecken, I don't
Mm.
think Flecken is a goalkeeper that um they're going to work with for a long time.
Yeah.
His
Mm-hmm.
speed is a bit shaky. So I say Ramsdale as an option for them. However much, there is Dean Henderson at Crystal Palace.
Mhm.
I won't be surprised if Palace rejects the interest. But because they already have Dean Henderson, the price might actually put them off. Like, we already have someone in that position.
Are Leicester
We-
coming into the league?
I don't say. Now, Leicester and Southampton were
Mm,
actually two options I thought about. But then I
mm,
thought about, would they really want to splash like 30 million in a goalkeeper?
mm. A
Yeah,
problem.
that's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would they want to splash 30 million in a goalkeeper? Can I throw some wild card out there?
Yeah.
Tottenham.
Tottenham. Whew,
Wild
that's
card.
that is
Tottenham.
this. That's a disgusting wild card. Tottenham. I'd not like to see Ramsdale at Tottenham at
No,
all.
no, 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 the confidence, vicarious confidence in terms of set plays is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. He's one
Mm,
of the worst goalkeepers in terms of set pieces. So won't be
mm.
surprised if Tottenham are in for a new goalkeeper this summer, especially with with the kind of guy they have at as manager.
I'm gonna say Chelsea, and then I'm gonna also say it's going to be hard for them to pay the money, but I'm going to say Bournemouth. I can see him going back to Bournemouth like he was there 4 or 5
Yeah,
seasons ago.
but Bournemouth is a nice shout. Bournemouth is a nice
Yeah,
shout.
it could be.
With Chelsea they now have Enzo Maresca. With Maresca
Mm,
as manager, he's going to demand more of Aaron Ramsdale's confidence in terms of fit than Enzo Pochettino. That not Enzo Pochettino, but than a Pochettino, Mauricio Pochettino.
yeah, I don't think Chelsea would love Enzo and Pochettino together. I think Chelsea fans would not want to see that those two together. But very nice conversation. The latest on Sesko, latest on Osimhen, Zirkzee. We've talked about Chiesa. We've also talked about Ramsdale. Let us know what you make about all that in the comment section. Make sure to catch me and Kozi on his channel later on today for a live stream, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yep, for a live stream. So make sure to check that one out. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next one.